Included with your kit is a project case. It's got all the holes. It's basically 3D printed. When you get done, the circuit board's going to go down in here, go down there and snap in place. Put the lid on, wires will come out. Simple. It's going to include the connector here. This one's a lot easier. The original version you had to solder all these connectors on. This one has screws that we're going to loosen up. Put the wires in, tighten the screws down. And next it's going to include 10 LEDs. 4, 5, 10, okay, and then 1 resistor. The instructions it's going to include didn't include instructions. There's this material I used to make the first one, so that's why I'm making this video and make it a little easier for you guys. I'm going to just do a how-to. Takes a little bit of the fun out of it, but this is just a manual for an old encoder, and this is just for reference. We won't need it for this video. Here's a diagram. This is mainly what we're going to be using for this. All this other stuff here was just more reference stuff. Here was questions. All the questions I've ever had people that have made this, any questions they've asked, I've answered here, and pretty much have no more questions, except today somebody would like instructions on how to put it together, so now we're going to have an actual step-by-step video how to put this together. It is long and involved. That's why part of the listing says for another $40 I'll put it together for you. So here we go. Some of the tools, we're going to move over here to the tools. When I solder, I like to use a fan. When I dip it in the flux, it blows the smoke away from me instead of in my hair and everything. Solder, I'm using silver solder, lead-free. Let's say it's a lot harder to solder with, but I don't want to breathe any lead fumes. I don't know what's going to happen with it. And you know, dip the solder, wipe it off, and then we're going to do our soldering. This is like a breakthrough, having a digital solder pencil. The tip doesn't get so hot that it all burns up. It's just like night and day. If you can get one of these, I don't know if it's like $20 on order from China, wait a couple weeks, I would get one. You can probably get it in the US for the same price. Okay, we'll start the video. Okay, to start out, each LED has one that's longer than the other, right? So we'll put the long one on the bottom here, grab it. There's little notches right here. We're gonna bend it right at the end of that notch there. So I'm gonna grab it with this, and I'm gonna bend it down this way. Then the next one, we're gonna bend. You're gonna wanna go out just a little bit, and then bend that one down. Right? So remember, the long one is this one here. And then these are all going to go in place. If you look at this little diagram, this one's going to go right here on the end. And the letters really don't matter, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, there we go. So that one's going to go there. I'm going to put all 10 of these across here. Now you'll notice one LED goes this way, the next one's going to go completely sideways. So I'm going to grab this one and bend them both that way. Every other one's going to alternate like this. So this one, bend it that way. Okay, let me do one more and talk about it when I do it. With the long one on this side, grab it there and bend it that way, because the polarity of these really matters. You'll get it all put together and one of your lights won't work. Then we're going to skip one space, one hole, and then put it in the next ones. Just like you can see, there's a space there. So then we're going to go ahead and alternate. We're going to go all the way down, put all 10 of these in. Okay, we got 5 of each of these bent. 5 bent that way and 5 bent this way. Just make sure you got the long post for this one over on that side, and then for this one the long post is there. And we're going to go ahead and put each one of these in and solder them in place. Okay, I'm just going to clean the tip off here. Using a hand helper thing to hold this in place. And we're just going to solder these on here. And we're going to do this with all 10 of them. Clean the end a little bit again. Okay, there's one. Okay, that one went that way. This one you skip one, then you put it in sideways this way. Make sure you keep it up a little bit. See how the first one has a little gap down there? Now this one's going to be up about that high. Soldered another one in there. Just try and heat up the wire and let the solder get sucked down into the joint. And another time you skip a hole and go to the next one. This is a sideways one. See how they alternate? Sideways, straight, sideways. Once you get going here, it goes pretty quick. Alright, at the very end, of course halfway through, I realized a little trick. Don't have these spread at the same as the two holes. Spread open a little wider. That way, when you put it in here, it kind of holds it in place at the height you set it at. So I want it about that height. Look at that, it doesn't even fall. Then I can just flip it upside down and solder it on there, and it holds itself in place. I have a clean tip, and then also put it on the thing for about 5 seconds first. That way it'll suck it into there instead of get it all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I add the solder and it sucks it down into there. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and clip all these little extra doodads off of here. Someone's jamming this up. Too much magnetism on here. You don't want them too long because they're going to be sitting in the bottom of the box, and you don't want them to hit the bottom. Okay, I bought this wire here off of Amazon. They're like $7 a box. 24 gauge. I got 2 different sets of colors, and so it's going to give me 10 different wires here. Okay, so since I have 10 colors of wires, there's 10 colors we're going to need down here. So I labeled each one: white, brown, orange, gray, purple, blue, yellow, red, green, and black. Then up here for these, I'm going to use red. All 3 of them red, red, red. These, a couple of them will be thicker gauges, and then the other ones will be light gauge. And then black for up here. Okay, since each one of these wires is going to go back to this corner here, I'm going to cut a little bit extra. So each one of these is going to be progressively longer, like the next one. Okay, now we're going to cut all 10 of these colors of wires from whatever colors you got, whatever colors you wrote down. The longest one is going to be the white one, and we made that one 12 inches long. Okay, the longest one being 12 inches long, and then the shortest one being 9 inches long, and that's because this circuit board's like 3 inches long. So when we get done, the shorter one's going to be hooked to this side, and the longer one is going to be hooked to this side, and they'll all end up the same length on that end. Then just progressively cut each one a little bit shorter all the way down, you know, through the process. These wires could have been any color, all the same color if you wanted, but just to make it visual, I made them all similar to the colors they're going to be, except these are just the ground, so each pair is going to be grounded up to this corner. So that's why the white one's shorter, it's going up to this corner. The black one's longer, it's going from these two up to this corner. I'll get a little pointer here. We're going to put the ground right in between these two, and then we're going to skip and put the ground in between these two, and we'll skip ground, and then ground for the last two. Right. Okay, like I said, it doesn't matter what color these are. There's going to be 5 of them for the ground, cut progressively longer so they'll all reach this corner. I'm just going to stick them all in, and then I'm going to go ahead and solder them to the back here. I'm going to use a little piece of tape to hold this down in place so when I flip it over they don't fall out. And here's the piece of tape to hold it down. Now when I turn it over, the wires will be ready for me to solder them in the middle there. Okay, and I'm just going to, like I said, solder these 5 wires onto the back here. And then, not only that, we're going to bridge all the way across 3 of these with solder. These are all the negative posts. There we go. There we go. We bridged all 3 of those together. Go to same thing down here. I'm going to go to the next wire of the 5 wires. We're going to bridge these across. Kind of hard to keep it bridged without. There we go. Same thing all the way down. Okay, then after I get those soldered on, you run all these wires over to the back corner. So I can leave the diagram over here. Back here, there's the resistor drawn there. So we're gonna bend the resistor like you would normally see a resistor, and put it in here. I'll go one more. And slide it down there. Then we're going to go on the back and solder all these 5 positives. Was I calling them grounds before? Anyway, positive to that end. And we're going to bridge all 5 of them together with solder. Hold on. Alright, the cameraman pointed out I wasn't pointing out where they should hook up. You see, we'll put the resistor in number C to number G. And these A and B plus the next row A, B, and C below will have the other 5 wires. And then, like I said, we're going to solder all 5 of these wires in here. And then we're going to bridge them all 5 together, well, along with the resistor. So 6 of these slots should have solder bridged across them. Okay, now to make it easier to do this bridge, I'm going to go ahead and cut this resistor off now that I got it started. Okay, like I said, we need all 6 of these bridged together. Okay, I decided to hook a power supply here. I'm just going to test it right now. Here's the one side of the resistor. If you don't run it through the resistor, it's going to blow the LED. So make sure the power starts on the one side of the resistor. Then we're going to test each one of these contacts here. This one, this one, this one. And in a moment here, we're going to find one that doesn't work. I did this on purpose to save you from having problems later. Look, nothing. This one and this one. If you'll look, I don't know if you can see the shape of that LED, but it's in there backwards based on the little poles that are inside of here. But that one versus that one's backwards, and that one's correct, and that one's correct. So I'm going to unsolder this, flip it around, bend it the other way, and it should work. Ready? Okay, as I go back and test them again, you'll see that this one is not working. Okay, good. This is wired in the right direction. So like I said, these are all positives. We're going to hook the positive on the one side of that resistor, and then check each one of those. Hopefully you don't hook one to the positive over here, because then it'll probably short out that resistor. On whatever color code you chose to use for each one of these pins. Pin 1, 2, 3, 4. I know that somewhere along here these pins are flipped around, but that's just the way it really is in the book. So I'm going to put the white one right behind this negative post on that LED. You can actually strip this wire with your fingernails. And then the same with the next one. The brown one's going to go behind the negative post for the next LED. My next color is orange. And I'm going to strip that. I'm going to go proceed all the way down through all 10 of these. This one's going to go behind that. And then once I get all 10 of these in these holes, then, I don't want a wire hanging out. Then I'm going to put a piece of tape on it so they don't come out, flip it over, and solder those 10 in. Okay, so now like I said, the little trick with the tape, put tape on it. It's going to hold all the wires from the effects of gravity. And I'll flip this over. And now I'm going to solder all of those connections. And then be careful not to, well, we do need to bridge these. This one needs to bridge to the post right next to it. This one back here needs to bridge to that post. All the way down the line. So there's number 4. Okay. At this stage, we are pretty close to being done. We have these 10 signal wires connected, all our positive wires, and now it's just a matter of connecting these to the connector and putting our positive and negative wires on here. Okay, I just lost our cameraman, so I'm not going to be able to live shoot all this, but there's a black negative wire right here, and the positive wire right here next to the resistor. Do the tape trick, tape it on there. Already done this, but I flip it over and solder that positive wire to the opposite side of where that resistor is. I don't know if you see the resistor under there. And then bridge that across. And over here we're just gonna, from now, we're just gonna solder that negative wire right to the board. And then we're gonna end up putting a couple more wires on here and bridging all 3 of those together. Alright, then next up here we're gonna do the last, solder the last 4 wires. 2 black ones, 9 inches long, 2 red ones, 10 inches long. And now I'm going to put I just put these 2 black ones in right here, and the 2 red ones are going to go in these 2 spots here next to the red. And there we go, the red ones are connected right there. I'm going to do the tape these down so that when I flip it over they don't fall out, and I'm going to solder the black 3, bridge all 3 of those together, and bridge all 3 of these red ones together. And we can put the solder pencil away and make all the connections. Okay, I got it taped down. We're going to flip it over, make those solder points. Quick shot right here. I'm going to solder these 3, O, P, Q, I'm going to come over here and solder these three, A, B, and C. Alright. O, P, Q, and R, all four soldered together. Over here we got A, B, and C, all three soldered together. Put the solder pencil away, and we'll screw all the terminals to the connectors and close the lid. Alright, at this point I'm confident I've got all these wires correct. I'm going to straighten up these LEDs a little bit so they're all kind of similar where they're going to fit into these holes that are in the front here. Kind of hard to see with this lighting. From the inside, it's going to go. We're going to push the LEDs in there first, and then bring the board down, and it'll snap in place. And then we'll have all these wires should be able to come out the side here, and we can put the lid on, and then make those connections to the post on this connector. Alright, and then prior to putting it in, I'm gonna line all these bulbs up and push it in here backwards first, just to get all the bulbs pretty much lined up so that when I'm going from the other side, it's gonna go in there a lot better. This is where I would like to have a camera person while I insert this, but it's gonna be pretty simple. You just push all the LEDs into those 10 holes, and then the back, there's a little snap back here where the back of the circuit board will snap underneath of that. Okay, I got it this far, and the two snaps are right here. I find it easier to take the screwdriver and kind of pull the wall away a little bit, pull the wall away a little bit just to get it around that snap while you're pushing it the back end down that way. And voila, we got the little hold downs here on the back. Once it goes past it, those snap in place. All the LEDs are in the right spot. We're gonna make some connections. Alright, I'm gonna put all these wires through this piece of shrink wrap, or shrink tube, heat shrink, there we go. And I'm going to slide it up into here just to give a little protection against this circular area that the wires are going to pass through. Okay, and I went ahead and put 3 tubings on. One has all the wires in it. The next one, I let the 2 power wires come out, and it has the rest of the wires. And then I'm just putting another one here, so when I get the case on up here, I can slide this up. And in the middle, you're going to see all the colored wires, which is not a big deal. Okay, and this final part here, if you did, like I mentioned at the beginning, write down all the colors that you're going to use here. Then you're just going to go pin 1 is going to be white, pin 2 is going to be brown, whatever color you wrote down here. There's pins, numbers. I can come over to the light here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then on the other side 9, 10, 11, 12, round. So we'll just match all those up and put the wires into the ends there. Alright, to give you an idea, pin 1 white, pin 2 red. Well, it looks like it's red over here. It's not, it's brown. It is brown, it's just the camera doing that. And then pin 2 brown, then I need orange, gray. Don't get confused when you get down here to 12 and 13 that are backwards. Make sure you put those to 12 and 13. And a little farther along, orange, gray, purple. I ran into a snag here with the red, because I also used red wires over here. So what I'm going to do is I want the red wire that's going to this post. I'm going to pull on this red here, find out which one it is. See that one that's pulling back? And that's the red wire I'm going to use for pin number 11. Alright, I got 1 through 5, and it jumps to 9, which is on the back of the other side. And so we're going to go 9, 10, 11, 13, 12. And I also ran into the same issue with the black wire for pin 12. It's this black wire, not these two, so you just kind of pull it, see which one's moving down here, and hook that one up. And then you'll see I have labeled pin 8 and 14 are red, pin 6 and 15 are black. So we have 2 reds and 2 blacks. We'll use those. Doesn't matter which ones, as long as the black and red are cooked to the corresponding red or black. And what it looks like with the last one. You'll notice that pin 7 over here does not have anything on it. And the one that's labeled ground does not have anything on it also. Now we're going to place it into this case. It only fits into this case one way. This little tab on the door lock will be for on the door. The other part fits in the bottom there. Next, I'm going to slide this heat shrink up here. I pulled all the extra wire back this way rather than have it bunched up inside of there. And then we're going to put this little hold down on here. The screws go through the back side into it. Pretty much done. So I can heat up this little heat shrink tube wherever I want to place it. Put the lid on here, and then I'm just going to apply 12 volts of power to these. Connect it to my altimeter. That'll be next here, or the decoder. Alright, connected to the decoder. I'm going to add some power down here. Okay, I got my leads hooked up here. First thing, when I add power, we should, well, you can see some motion here on the lights. That's because it's warm in here. I think if it's cold, it would take a while. Because there's a heater inside of here. It'll warm up first before you start seeing anything. Now, if you notice, I connected a tube here. This is supposed to hook to the airplane pivot tube. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blow on this tube. You won't see me doing this, but you'll see the lights move. Well, if I suck, it'll be like it's going to higher altitude. And then if I blow, it'll be like a lower altitude. So basically, the way this code works, most of these lights are going to be the ones working unless you're getting to a very high altitude, which I'm going to have to suck really hard to get some of those to light up. Okay, the last one did not light up, but this encoder does not go to that altitude. Let's see, it's got the first box checked. It only goes to 30,000. And but if you are testing, you want to make sure that all of them work. Otherwise, there's a problem inside. And it does look like one of those is not lighting up. The third one from the end here. Alright. So it's either the encoder, or I'm going to double check here and make sure everything's right on this tool that we just made here. Alright, I located the problem. I missed putting a little solder bridge from this wire over to here. And once I put that solder on there, then that third light from the end will work. And here we go. We're going to do this test. And you can see all the lights ended up working except for the last one, like I said. There's a sheet here that comes with it. It gives you what this readout actually means. So right now we have 2, 3, and 5 lit up. Kind of got this thing laid backwards. So if you look at, well, I guess it's pretty good for the way this is. From the back, we're going to need pin 2. No. Let me find it here, I'll come back. Alright, on this side it shows the altitude. If I would have just guessed, you know, hey, I'm probably at about 400 feet here in Iowa. We got, oh, it switched a little bit. Must be warming up. Number 3 and 5. So it's not 400 feet, it's showing 300 feet. 3 and 5. Now, you could make these adjustments here. And, you know, if this was all connected to your altimeter on your airplane, while you're doing this, and make that match, and then put a T connector in here and apply a vacuum, and say bring it up to, you know, a higher altitude like 5,000 feet. It's not on the sheet, yes it is. And then apply vacuum until these codes match up. What? Okay, using the gauge in your airplane, when that says 5,000 feet with the amount of vacuum, if this doesn't match, then you would also go back and make another adjustment. And if you can make, you know, 400 feet and 5,000 feet both match, then you're right in the ballpark. You can have a professional go ahead and certify it, you know, go in and, you know, they'll adjust it all over again. But you're probably better off just verifying that, not messing with any of the adjustments at all. You're probably right. And then, you know, check it, put some vacuum, go to 5,000 feet, see if it lines up. If it does, you know, you're pretty close. When you take it to a repair shop and have them check it, there shouldn't be any snags. They should be able to make the last final adjustments, if any. Alright, hope this makes it easier for you to assemble and test your decoder. Well, another problem, I guess I was about ready to hang up here. Another problem is we may buy this long before we ever get a chance to test it in our airplane. And this gives us a chance to confirm that everything's working. You know, you got some of these lights not working in here, then something's wrong with that, and you can go ahead and return it. Instead of, you know, 6 months later getting the chance to get your airplane put together enough, if you're a home builder, to where you can actually go out and try it. And then you find out that that's bad, your refund date has expired by then. Alright, you guys, as I say in the drone flying world, happy flying.